Hey peeps, look what just came in the mail. I got the littlest of all the Anbernics. This was actually the first one I saw. So we're gonna open it up and check it out. I saw it on Instagram and I actually really didn't know about the whole, like I'd seen people built their own emulator devices using Raspberry Pis, but that looked way too like involved for me, so I never really kind of paid attention, and I didn't realize that there were now companies starting to like properly make their own like standalone consoles. So this was pretty new to me, and I saw this and I fell in love with it and I thought it was really adorable, but then I actually started to look at Anbernic's website and I decided to go with the 353PS. That name just rolls off the tongue. But after playing the 353PS for a while, loving it to death, I got the Android, oh my gosh, sorry, the Retroid, which is Android based, and it's great. But I thought about it a lot and I decided I have a use for this little guy. So, ooh, look how little it is. That is a nice manual. Let's take a look at what else is in the box. This will be the charging cord, I assume. And it is a Type-C, which is very important these days. Headphone jack adapter, maybe? Comes with a really nice keychain. That's cool. I always like these kind of squinky ones like this. Got a good clippy guy on there. I really do plan on putting on a keychain because, as you can see, yeah, keychains are my friends. Let's take a look, and the rest of this should pretty much be empty. Yep, just a nice little foam thing in there, so get out of here. Alrighty. Ooh, I went with the blue. I think that's probably my biggest complaint with this device, is that while it's really cool looking, the colors are not super authentic to like an old, I'm not even saying it has to look exactly like a Game Boy, which is obviously what it's going for, but they're not like super nice colors at all, kind of muted, but the reason they're muted is this is actually metal. So it's metal. So that's why the colors are a little like metally grayed out, because it's actually solid. It's not like cheap plastic with a yucky color. It's kind of like a muted color because it's actually metal, which is neat. Look at this little thing. This thing is nuts. Alright, so it has much simpler mechanics than the other Retroids, for obvious reason. So that, I assume, that's a charging port, I assume. You have your controls. The D-pad feels surprisingly good. Like, it's kind of springy. It's not like clunky like you would think it would be. Buttons are fine. Yep, all the buttons fine. These are a little cheap feeling, but they're not too bad. Screen has a slight bevel to it. Very nice, very pretty. And yeah, like I said, it's metal. There is a speaker down there. And that is the power button. This should play everything up to PS1, but of course, being as small as it is, simpler games probably work better. And of course, it only has the L1, R1, so if you need more than that, those games might not work. But most PS1 and older only need L1, R1. Why don't we take a look at this? Here is the keychain. Here's the keychain attachment little loop thing. And you just have a basic lobster clasp on this end of the keychain. So they made it nice and super. You don't have to wrestle with a, like trying to get a ring to go through. You just, pew! Nice. And so now you have your optional keychain on there. And you could probably put some keychain jewelry on there too, whatever you want to do to really spice up your Nano. Look at that on the keychain. That is epic. Here is the Nano. The first thing is, as I was saying, you don't want to take that out ever. They probably could have just not had that even open because it needs that to start up. And you just plug it into your computer to transfer files. You don't actually need to remove it like you do for most Anbernics. So what do we got on here? Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Gear, Game Boy Advance. Yeah, so it can do what most Anbernics can do. It doesn't look like it does PSP or Dreamcast or anything a little fancier like that, but it does do PS1, which is what I was hoping it would be able to go up to. But, you know, most people are using it for Game Boy and Game Boy Color. And then media, that's the other thing. See, it has a media player. Back in the day, before we all had phones, we had MP3 players, and there were standalone devices dedicated to storing and listening to music. And honestly, they never actually stopped being a good idea. We just all kind of got sold on only using our phone for everything. And as a result, we all kind of got used to a subpar version of a thing that does everything, rather than having a separate offline device that does one or two things really well. So I'm actually really looking forward to putting music on this device and having an MP3 player again. A real MP3 player. So I wonder if there's any music on here. Let's see. Hotel California? What? That's too funny! Oh, look at that. This is just like the little... I used to have a Muvu that was pink. And I put a Dragonfly glitter sticker on it. It got stolen in high school. Ugh. It was so cool. Man, look at this thing. This is awesome. I'm not sure how they legally were able to add that, but I don't think Anbernic cares. So to exit, you just hold down those two buttons at once. It's a little different for every application. Sometimes you hold those two at once, sometimes you hold one, sometimes you hold the other, sometimes you back out with B, sometimes you hit the power buttons. You just kind of have to experiment. Check that out. PlayStation 1 on a tiny itty bitty little device. That is insane. Okay, so one of the other things I thought would be good on this device is, as I was mentioning, a game that doesn't have like a lot of gameplay, where normally the main gameplay is that you just basically leave it alone. So if you're going to play a game, like really interact with the game, then a game like Creatures or Digimon World Wonder Swan isn't like a great game to like get into, because there's not a lot going on, of course. But with this, you could actually be playing a game and then just basically leave this alone in the corner to do its time, and you can just keep checking on it here and there. Started. So Creatures would be the ideal game to play on this, because you could make a lot of progress without having to actually just sit and stare at it. Back in the day, I would have it running in the background while I was like working on computer stuff, but you know, it doesn't really work on any computer anymore because it's a very strange old game, very strange old language, and unless you want to give money to GOG, it's basically impossible to play the game. How do I give this to you? There you go. Great. It's basically impossible to get this game to run. So the fact that there's a couple of console releases means it's actually possible to play this game, and with a device like this, I can actually have it running in the background just on my desk. And I can make progress in the game without having to, you know, take up time on my actual Retroid or Anbernic, where I would be playing like Digimon or Pokemon or Dragon Quest or something with, you know, that actually requires me to be grinding and doing gameplay. Yeah, look at that. Alright, so the point of this game is it's basically a VPET. This device came out between the original bricks and the original Pendulum, so it actually doesn't have Paimon. But it has some of the Pendulum roster, and of course all of the brick roster with a few surprises. So it's a pretty cool VPET. But you know, if you're playing on the Wonder Swan, because you have to have batteries for this thing, there's no way you would actually play it as a true VPET, because it would just eat your batteries so fast. But with this being recharging, and with it having this auto save feature, even if it powered down, it would just save, and I would just have to power it up. Exactly like this device, actually, and all the color rechargeable new VPETs. So I can actually use this little teeny nano keychain as a keychain V-Pet to play Digimon Wonder Swan. So yeah, it's really cool, and I actually really recommend this, especially if you're looking for ways to get offline more. This is one of the ways to do it. Get yourself this as a on-the-go game, as a V-Pet, and most of all as an MP3 player, so you don't have to rely on unreliable subscription systems and applications and stuff on your phone, junk on your phone, to try and just relax and listen to music. This thing, I'm really happy I got it. It's really cool and I'm excited about it. I can't believe more people aren't thinking of these uses and realizing the potential of this little thing. It's inexpensive and it's really cool, so I recommend you get one and take your music collection offline and your video games offline and have some peace of mind to yourself without being attached to a phone and the internet. It's really cool. Okay, anyway, have a great week and like and subscribe and bye!